And welcome to the Gay Liberation Network here on CAN TV. Sorry for the late start here. We had a few technical difficulties. Tonight we're going to be discussing the issue of immigration reform. And with me is Reverend Luis Alvarenga.
Alvarenga, yes. Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos. Welcome to Gay Liberation.
Yes, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight because the so-called Gang of Eight senators, 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats, have come up with their so-called immigration reform. They have had lots of news about this, but to anyone who's really looked at the details, I think you have to say there's no reform in the so-called reform. But backing up a bit, I think we need to point out that, unfortunately, our current president, President Obama, is on track to become the biggest deporter of any president in U.S. history. Come this January, he will have deported even more people than President George W. Bush. And a lot of people are rightfully angry about this because, unlike George Bush, we have a lot of nice rhetoric coming out of the Obama administration. For example, he said that he favors immigration reform that would protect families headed by same-sex couples. But when his own floor leader in the U.S. Senate, Illinois' Dick Durbin, came out with a proposal, there was nothing protecting same-sex couples, and there were a lot of other very nasty provisions. Luis, could you tell our audience what are the main bullet points in this so-called reform that the 8 senators have come out with?
Yes. We are asking, first of all, we're asking people to come on May 1st. That's a Wednesday. And we're celebrating 2 things. One of them is that we're celebrating the workers. And the workers are the main focus of the day, International Workers' Day. All over the world, May 1st is International Workers' Day, except in the United States. But nevertheless, we're going to walk, we're going to march, and we're going to say we need some new immigration reform for all the humans who are undocumented. And yes, we're going to begin at 2 p.m. at Union Park. We are going to invite you to come and help us and walk with us. Those of us who are looking for a new path to what's called the American dream. And that's why we're here. Many millions of people come. And about 11 million people, Andy, are looking for that opportunity to get documentation. There is a path now, right now, with the Gang of 8 senators who are proposing a law that is going to help some humans get documentation.
But unfortunately, some people would have to wait a decade or even more.
No, more. Yes, 13 years. Look,
13 years.
Amigo mío, señor Manuel, got a daughter, 7 years old. She's going to be 21 when he becomes a citizen. I mean, this is outrageous.
Even if you wait that long, nothing is guaranteed. There's a so-called 3 strikes you're out provision. If you are arrested or convicted of 3 misdemeanors over a period of that decade or more, that you're waiting for citizenship, then you would be automatically disqualified. And anyone who knows anything about the targeting of particularly minority youth in this country will say, well, that's just license for police to abuse youth even more by threatening their immigration status with these arrests. Even in normal times, 3 misdemeanors over a period of more than a decade, it's not difficult for otherwise quite good youth to ring up that kind of record. And there's also the provision that if the borders are not sufficiently guarded to the tune of stopping 90% of people who cross, then the provisions would be that, again, those people who waited, who did all the right things, paid the huge fines, would still not be eligible.
Yes. I'd like to share with you that some of the political commentaries are facing this idea that there is the bad, the good, and the ugly in this new particular proposal from these senators. Now, they are talking, the senators. Now, the representatives are going to be talking. And then they both will talk so they can present something to Obama, the president. But you know what? They forgot us, the people. Yes, they forgot us, the people. And we're not talking about what we want, the human being, the worker, the immigrant. That is part of the difficulty on the one hand. But on the other hand, we're thinking about the ugly. Look, they're not, we're talking about a show here that's about gay liberation. This particular law doesn't allow gay people to be married or to have a chance.
To naturalize their spouses.
Let's deal with the ugly. Let's deal with the ugly of this law. On the one hand, look, I have a friend of mine who's a seminary student, future pastor, and she's married to a beautiful woman in Chicago. But if they wanted to get legal through this law, forget it. They're not going to be able to, because this law is discriminating against gay people. So think about it.
And this is a law that's being put forward by Illinois' own Dick Durbin, again, the de facto floor leader for President Obama in the U.S. Senate. And so out of one side of his mouth, President Obama is saying that he's in favor of gay people. Mind you, his coming around to, for example, supporting equal marriage rights was only after lots of pressure, including an anti-gay constitutional amendment passed in North Carolina, the state that hosted the Democratic National Convention.
I hear you. My take on it is, as a UCC minister, we in the United Church of Christ, we not only affirm gay people, we ordain gay people, we marry gay people. So when this law came, we say, man, what is this? This is not what we believe. We're not justice oriented. We are mostly very disciplinarian type oriented. $4.5 billion on the border so that we can secure the borders. And you know what? It will make a lot of sense, because any human who really don't like American culture and traditions will do stupid things, like the young humans in Boston. And so I am not sure if this law represents us, the people who really need help. There is the good. There are good things, you know. There will be the dreamers who be able to get papers. There will be the bad, in which the elimination of a diversity visa lottery will be implemented, and that will allow only one community to be able to get papers, mostly, according to some experts, mostly Southeast Asians, allowing a minority to become a majority. At this time in the United States, we believe that the majority of the humans are Latinos. But do we have power? Forget it.
In terms of the immigrants,
And so, Andy, I am here to say that we need to march on May 1st. We need to support gay rights. We need to support human rights. We need to support all the rights of people who are workers, international workers. And that's why I'm here.
But let's take a quick break for a few announcements. First, if you want to get in touch with the Gay Liberation Network or simply find out more about our organization, please visit our website, www.gayliberation.net, where you'll find all sorts of articles and information about our organization and various issues. And coming up on Saturday, June 1st, is going to be International Days of Action for Bradley Manning. Bradley Manning, the courageous WikiLeaker who exposed U.S. war crimes around the world. Really a truly courageous man. He was recently named the Grand Marshal of the San Francisco Pride Parade. So watch for details here in Chicago and around the nation. On Saturday, June 1st, there will be demonstrations in support of Bradley Manning just before his trial, which is the following Monday, June 3rd. And also coming up, the Supreme Court is going to be making its historic decisions about both Proposition 8 in California, which will affect other states as well, perhaps, and also the Defense of Marriage Act. Here in Chicago, there is going to be a Decision Day demonstration at 7 p.m. at Halsted and Roscoe Streets on whatever day the decision comes out. We expect it to be late June because we need to take forward whatever decision the court comes with and press for greater victories if we win a partial victory, and we need to protest if we don't get a victory. And also coming up, of course, on May Day, this coming Wednesday, 2 p.m., Union Park, Ashland Avenue and Washington Boulevard. Be out in the streets, celebrate May Day, demand workers' rights, demand immigrant rights, 2 p.m. this Saturday. And also, on that same day, Occupy Chicago is going to be having its own May Day event feeding into the big May Day March, and that's a Solidarity Speak Out. It's going to be also at Union Park at 1 p.m. May 1st. That's Ashland Avenue and Washington Boulevard. And of course, our website, www.gayliberation.net. But getting back to this bill and the Senate. And, that's really the first round, because this bill has only been proposed by the senators. Then it goes to the House.
Yes.
And the House is full of, frankly, Neanderthals in the main, and they will try and make a bad bill even worse. And I just think of the contrast between this so-called reform that we're getting under a Democratic president and the real reform that we got under the late years of the Reagan administration, when we had
the amnesty.
The amnesty.
I'm a product. I got my residency. First, I got a permit. Yes, for a few years, and then I got a residency. But this bill is asking you to wait a decade.
And
$5,000 later. So it's awful.
And of course, the undocumented are already in the lowest rung of wage earners and private contractors. So coming up with $5,000 is a very different thing than, say, you're wealthy coming up with that same kind of money. So it's really a way to punish people.
It is very punitive, yes.
And I'm sure that our friends on the right will say, oh, but they came here illegally, and therefore this, that, and the other thing. But let's look at why people come to the United States. What is the United States doing to many other countries around the world
and why we come?
That causes people to come? I mean, you look no further than Honduras, where the United States supported a military coup, which has led to a record number of people being murdered in that country.
Indeed.
Then you have the NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which basically allowed heavily subsidized U.S. agribusiness products to flood into Central America, such as low-cost, subsidized corn and so forth, that wiped out the rural economies.
Look, they are asking the campesino person, somebody who lives in the fields in Central America, and they said, you need to go to the factories and be a techie and work in those computers. When a human being is taken away from his or her existence, it's terrible. Now, in CAFTA, what they did is they invited the people to leave
Central American.
That is right. There is an NAFTA, there is CAFTA. But I want to tell you something. Not only I am a Salvadorian, I'm a bit embarrassed to say that my own government has decided to take what we call the School of the Americas. The School of the Americas in Atlanta, Georgia, used to train all these people, personnel, military people, who will go back and kill thousands of humans. Just because of what they call democracy, in the name of who and for whom? For the elite, for the rich. And you know what? It's embarrassing, but the School of the American is now going to be hosted in El Salvador, Central America. This is terrible. Now, one thing is to see the perspective of the political global economy. But on the other hand, it is important to see that the campesino, now, he used to work in the fields and do the frijoles, the beans, and the corn, maize, and now he needs to buy it from Nebraska.
Because can't make any money selling it.
It is amazing.
Well, it also explains a lot of the drug war going on in Mexico right now, when people can't make a living on the land, when they can't get jobs. they're going to do something. I mean, we see that in any number of communities here in the United States as well. But before we get any further, we do want to invite people, if they'd like to get in on the conversation, please do give us a call at the number on the bottom of the screen there.
312-3738.
1060.
1060.
And we'll be happy in the limited time that we have here to invite you in on the conversation.
Y podemos llamar en español también, 312-738-1060, y le vamos a responder sus preguntas en español.
And Luis is going to handle all the Spanish language questions, not me. Again, while it's very important that people come out this next Wednesday to support the May Day March at 2 p.m. At Washington Boulevard and Ashland Avenue. That's Union Park on the west side, and we're going to be marching to the Loop, to Federal Plaza for a rally as well. I should also note that a bit earlier at 1 p.m. that day in the same location, Occupy Chicago is going to be having a solidarity speak out where people can talk about the various issues of the day. Again, that's 1 p.m. also at Union Park before the 2 p.m. immigration and workers' rights rally that begins at 2, followed by a march to the Loop. Now, Luis,
yes.
Tell us how you got involved in the issue of immigrant rights. What motivated you to get involved, and why should other people get involved, whether or not they're immigrants themselves?
Yes. I am, as a community organizer, I am invited to know that there are certain things about humans who come to the United States, whether if they are from Southeast Asia or Africa or El Salvador, Central America. We are looking for that, what we call the American dream. And through the centuries, that is what we are about. Unfortunately, it is only in the last few years that we've seen the worst of the worst. As Andy was talking in the beginning, President Obama has the worst record of deporting people ever. Not Bush. I mean, he was terrible, but he was not that bad. I mean, Obama has done really terrible. On the one hand, the reason why I'm involved is because I'm an immigrant. I came to the United States in 1981 because we had a revolution in El Salvador, a war sponsored mostly by the elite connected to the American weapons-making companies who likes to sell these weapons and make wars all over, anywhere, and that was in the 70s. And so it happens all over and everywhere. And I came to the United States as a minister. I was a church person, and I am still a church person. And I believe that war is not the way. We are people of peace and not war. In a sense, we follow that human who believes that the solidarity about the humanity is encountering the spirituality in the other person. So, I am here because I believe that the 11 million people who are here without documents, they are in need of a document that will allow them to become and be. And that is, it don't matter where they come from, but what's important is that we have a chance to be able to become a new society. Now, let me explain to you one thing. In the last decade, we've seen the worst of the worst. The economy failed, and the housing, I mean, all the problems in the world have come to us. And that's why we're here.
Yeah. And so we're going to have to be wrapping up here very soon, but I'd just like to bullet point a few things. One, the so-called immigration reform is not a reform at all. Two, we don't have to wait for the senators or the House to act. We can be demanding that the Obama administration right now cease deporting people. There should be a moratorium on deportation.
No more deportations
until they figure out a truly just reform. That's what we need.
And we're asking for legalization for everybody.
Legalization for everyone.
And human rights for everyone who's undocumented.
Yes. And so please do come out to the May Day March this coming Wednesday. Join Reverend Luis Alvarenga and many others out there, myself as well. The Gay Liberation Network will be out there with an LGBTQ contingent. So join us on May Day. Thank you very much, Reverend, for making the trek to join us.
Les invitamos el miércoles a las 2. Compañero gay, compañera gay, vengan, ayúdenos. All are welcome to the march.
All are welcome. And just a few more announcements to close out our show. Remember the big May Day March this Wednesday, 2 p.m., Union Park. And just before that, of course, the Occupy Chicago action in the same location. That's Washington Boulevard and Ashland Avenue. The Solidarity Speak Out, sponsored by Occupy Chicago. Be there, speak, and listen to the issues of the day. And also, coming up, Bradley Manning Day of Action, Saturday, June 1st, at a location to be announced. All around the country here in Chicago will be definitely having an action. Watch this program for more information about that. And get involved in the Gay Liberation Network. We meet the first Wednesday of each month, and this next month, of course, that's Wednesday, May 1st, in the evening at the Burger Park Cultural Center, corner of Sheridan and Granville Avenue, 7 p.m. that evening. And our next show on GLN and the Gay Liberation Network is going to be here, this same channel, on Friday, May 10th. Please watch us on that. And then finally, a few thanks to the people who helped out with tonight's show.